Hello, I'm Lord Snark, and this is my end of spring season 2014 retrospective. I'm going to be going for something a little bit different this time. It's going to be more of a stream of consciousness kind of thing, unscripted, aside from a few notes here and there. I'll just quickly give my opinions on all the shows I watched in this anime season. Right, the structure's going to be like this. I'm going to do a show one at a time, in alphabetical order, because if I'm going to do arbitrary, I might as well go full arbitrary. I'm just going to give a quick rundown of what I thought of each individual show. I'm going to give a quick rating out of 10. If I need to talk about any spoilers, I'll do it at the end, and I'll give a time code if anybody wants to skip over that. Noticeable absences are current seasons of JoJo's and Mushishi. I'm actually behind on both of those. I hadn't quite caught up on the older stuff before the new season started, and I'm still not quite caught up. But if they're as good as what I have seen of each series so far, then yeah, they will still definitely be worth watching. Both easy 9 out of 10s, maybe even a 10 out of 10 for Mushishi, depending on if it kept up the quality. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all the shows that I watched all the way through first. Then I'm going to address the shows that I dropped part way through for whatever reason and why. And then at the very end I'm going to talk about my favourite show of the season, you know, best for last kind of thing. Don't want to end on a negative note. Right, so without further ado, first show of the season, Akuma no Riddle. And just as a side note, I will be switching between Japanese and English titles for various series, just depending on what I think of them as off the top of my head. To me, this is Akuma no Riddle, not Riddle Story of a Devil, and, you know, whatever. I'll swap back and forth here and there. This was alright. I'd give it a 5 out of 10, I'd say. It was fun, I suppose, at times. Very kind of trashy, you know. Yeah, it's very much kind of a dumb, fun, kind of brash thing, you know, just a very assassin of the week. You know, some episodes were better than others. It was very much dependent on how fun to watch the individual assassin of that episode was. It was worth a look, you know, it was decently animated. Wasn't well written, but, you know, I don't think anybody was expecting it to be, you know, kind of trashy fun for the most part, kind of switch off your brain kind of thing. We'll give the spoiler warning now so I can address the big problem with it. Really terrible ending, just wow. Yeah, so this is a show about assassinations and everybody's alive at the end. Everybody, even the people that were basically guaranteed dead, you know, the Romeo and Juliet couple who killed each other on stage, are both fine. Like, the taller one is a bit ill, apparently, and needs a bit more time to recover in hospital, but that poison must have been watered down or something. And, you know, being stabbed obviously doesn't do any real harm. Really forced attempt at a happy ending. Like, I was supposed to be happy that all of these people are alive, you know. Thank God the girl that likes to cut people up and watch them very slowly die in a horrible agony is alive. Yay. Ugh, whatever. Next show, and I'm not looking forward to trying to pronounce this, Brynhilda, probably wrong, in the Darkness. Right, I give this a 3 out of 10. I thought this was pretty terrible. Written by the same writer as Elfen Lied, and it shows a lot. Really thin writing, terrible one-note, non-dimensional characters, shock and gore for the sake of trying to be, you know, all edgy and, again, shocking, and it just doesn't work, and terrible attempts at comedy and fucking harem bullshit, because a series where people are suffering horribly and, you know, there's all this undertone of, you know, impending doom. We needed, you know, harem shenanigans. Ugh. And, you know, of course, right, at Elfen Lied, constant sexualization, infantilization of women, general misogyny kind of stuff, just no. I'm actually going to do a full review of this, I think, at some point. I'm actually not quite sure why I stuck with it. Well, to be fair, I think the premise itself is good, like with Elfen Lied before. There's a good idea behind there somewhere. It's just kind of awash in a bunch of bullshit. If you gave this premise to somebody else, I think it could turn out well, but it just, no, yeah. Definitely going to be a review of this one. It's just kind of terrible bullshit. Right, next up we have Captain Earth. This one I gave a 5.5 out of 10. It was alright, yeah, it doesn't really do anything all that new. It's kind of really fairly standard mecha show. It's nothing that we haven't really seen before and better. It looks quite nice. Yeah, the characters aren't terrible. The writing's not terrible. It's not all that good. I think the big problem I have is the most recent episodes, kind of going for the villain of the week kind of thing. I think the first half of the series holds up a lot stronger than the more recent episodes do. You know, introduce a new character, have their bit, set up a backstory for them, only to basically wipe it all away once, you know, I don't want to go into spoilers, once the thing happens. then the fight scene, and then they're gone. The only one of the designer children who has come back since their individual villain of the week episode was the one who worked in the casino with the red hair, and he's just essentially being a henchman for the Team Rocket, right? The Team Rocket, whatever. And he's just been a henchman. You know, there's no sign of the idol girl. There's no sign of the motorcycle one. I'm hopeful that because they've spent 2 episodes on Fight Club McGee and actually did put a lot of effort into fleshing out his backstory a bit more, and he seems to be holding on to himself a bit more. I hope he's actually going to have like more of a character arc and stuff to do. And now that we've seen all of the designer children, I hope we're actually like done with that phase of the show and we can move on the plot somewhat. You know, it's, yeah, for the last like 5 or 6 or so episodes, it's just stalled. Just as he has this week's designer child and their robot, and no, they're defeated. Now this week's designer child and their robot, and so on and so forth. Not a bad show. I don't regret watching it. I'm going to stick with it for the like second half of the series into the upcoming season, but definitely not one of the stronger shows I watched. Right, now we have Chaika, the Coffin Princess. This one's an 8 out of 10. I really like this one. And thank God, because I was just, 3 shows I didn't like in a row there. Yeah, this is just a really, really solid series. I like pretty much everything about it. It's all just, very rock solid kind of work, yeah. It looks nice, the music's nice, I like the premise, I like the characters. I like pretty much everything. I'm really struggling to think of anything I don't really like. The jokes were funny and landed pretty much all of the time. I think get a couple of duds here and there, but you do with any kind of comedy. The best comedies ever have had jokes that just didn't work. I'd recommend this to pretty much anybody, actually. Kind of got a good broad appeal. I think just about anybody could get something out of this. I think it's really one of the most consistently strong shows of the season. New second season coming in October, I believe, the fall season. I'm pretty sure it is. There's a few second series I want to watch in that season, actually. So, looking forward to that. Definitely looking forward to seeing more of Chaika. Yes, Chaika. Sorry, pretty much obligated to do that. Definitely worth a look if you're into your fantasy shows.